This is Mitch, and I want to welcome you to today's episode. You know, I quit and went full-time in March of 1996, and since then I've bought about, on average, 100 properties per year, and I have sold those properties every year. And so I have this 27 years worth of experience that I am disseminating all the time here in little 10-minute segments. And today's episode is all about how to get pet smells out of a house. This can be a little more challenging than you might think, so stay tuned and we're going to address this challenge right now. When it comes to getting those nasty smells of pets and animals out of your house, I'm a pro. I have seen situations that would make you shudder, literally make you throw up. And every time I've been able to conquer the problem. The question is, how far do we have to go? So in this episode, we're going to talk about what to do if you have carpet floors, what to do if you have wood floors, what to do if the floor is covered in tile, and then what to do if the subflooring is just a regular traditional concrete slab. All of that and more, so hang on. So I want to start with carpet because carpet can be laid over the top of all the other three choices. Now, when your carpet's been abused by pets or animals and there's urine and feces all over it, it's probably not salvageable. In most cases, you'll want to either rip out just that room and replace just that room where they kept the pets, or if it's throughout the house, you'll have to replace the carpet and the pad throughout the house. The question is, how bad was the abuse and how long did it go on for? If there's been a person cooping up pets and animals in a house for years or even decades, letting them urinate and defecate all over the place, chances are you don't just have a carpet and carpet pad problem. These liquids have soaked into the subflooring. And that subflooring includes the categories that we're going to cover next, which is wood, tile, and concrete. So we'll stay on the surface still here for a little bit. Probably going to have to throw the carpet and pad away. But if you remove the carpet and the pad and come back the next day and can still smell the odors of pets, that means that the subflooring has been penetrated and the smells are captured or trapped inside the subflooring. So what do you do if the subflooring is wood? Well, there's two different kinds of wood right off the bat that I'm thinking of. One is there's that real wood floor that we all love to see when we peel back the carpet and pad and go, oh my gosh, this house has a oak wood floor that someone covered up with carpet in the 60s. And then there's wood floor where you peel it back and it's like a pier and beam foundation and it's just plywood, okay? Either way, it's wood, but let's start with the handcrafted oak wood plank floor, the one that's made to be seen with your eyes. That floor will be sanded down, and that's not enough to get rid of those smells because this odor, these liquids have soaked into the wood. So just sanding a micro layer off the top is probably not going to solve your problem. What will solve the problem is a natural process when you refinish wood floors. First you sand them, and then what do? You put on a stain, which is kind of like a seal, and then you put on a polyurethane coat over the top of that stain to make it shine and become vibrant. And what's really going to lock out or lock in those smells is those coatings. Not so much the stain, more the polyurethane seal coat. Whatever it is they're putting on that floor, whatever that lacquer looking finish is, that's what's going to seal in those smells and make them vanish from your house. Now if the wood floor is just the plywood floor like typical in a pier and beam house where they have the piers and then the beams going across and then they laid the plywood down, you're not really going to have a process to go through because no matter what you do, you're going to cover this floor in something. If you plan on covering it in just carpet and carpet pad, then you're going to have to do something to kill these odors and to lock them into the wood. I suggest strongly, since this isn't going to be a wood finish that you're going to see with your eyes, start with a Clorox bleach solution, at least 50% water and 50% bleach, and then mist this bleach over all the wooden floor areas, every single square inch, and then let it sit and soak and come back in the next couple of days. See if that solved your problem. If that has not solved your problem and you can still smell the odors, then you're going to have to seal in these smells with some kind of coating. You could use anything to paint over the top of that plywood and lock that odor in before you put your pad and your carpet back down, but that ought to do the trick. You know, sometimes I get real aggressive with that bleach solution, so just a little side note. I've been known to go 100% bleach in really bad cases. Like there is no water in this solution. I'm taking pure bottles of Clorox bleach and I'm pretty much covering or saturating the plywood to see if when I show up the next day after the house is aired out, if those pet odors are gone. So that brings us to the last two types of floors. They both have to do with kind of like concrete. One is the tile floor, and then the concrete slab is next after that. When you have a tile floor, the ceramic tiles are probably not going to absorb any kind of smells because of the nature of their makeup. They are ceramic. They're probably impervious to water or liquid. The problem is that these tiles are surrounded by grout, and that grout is very porous and will absorb all kinds of liquids, including urine and feces matter. So that's where you would do the Clorox bleach solution and make sure you kind of scrub over all the grout lines. You could come back and see if that solved your problem after everything's dried out after a day or so. One of the best ways to know if it's really working is on hot days. Hot days seem to bring out the worst of the smells in vacant houses. So it's a really good test if it's the middle of summer and you do this Clorox kind of scrubbing on the grout lines. And then you come back and it's a hot day, say at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. If you can't smell any odors on that day, there's probably you've gotten rid of them. But chances are you're still going to smell those odors. Then you're going to have to go back and get a grout sealer and paint the sealer very craftsman-like in between the tiles and seal the grout up and seal those smells into the grout. So before we talk about how to handle pet odors and animal odors inside a concrete slab or the concrete subfloor, let's take a little time to pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, are these episodes helpful to you? Do you think they would be helpful to other people that you know that are in this business? If the answer is yes, please hit the like button and the share button and let people know that we exist out here, because a lot of people don't even know we're alive and well out here disseminating such information. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please do that now, because there's a lot more content where this is coming from, and we'd love to have you there. All right, now back to talking about concrete slabs and concrete subfloors. When it comes to concrete, I definitely don't use a water bleach solution. I just go straight bleach. Really hard to hurt this concrete, and I want to get a maximum attack on these smells. So I'm just using pure bleach. It's not very expensive, certainly not that expensive. Maybe even a broom, a push broom, so I can kind of push it around, scrub it in a little bit, make sure I've covered every inch of that slab or that concrete subflooring. Then I come back in a couple of days after the house has had a chance to air out. I'm opening up the windows, whatever I can leave open, and feel at ease with security for this property. But you're definitely going to have to leave the doors open and the windows open at some point in time to get the Clorox smell out and to let everything dissipate. Come back in a couple of days. If the odors are gone, good job. If they're not gone, the first thing to consider is, what are you going to put on top of this concrete? Are you going to go back with carpet pad and carpet? Or are you going to go back with a concrete finish with a sealer on it already? Or are you going to go back with a tile? Because if you're going to go back with something that you're going to lay over that could be construed as locking in the smell, then you probably don't have to do what I'm going to tell you to do. And in some cases, you absolutely don't want to do this if you're going to apply like a tile floor. They have enamel-based paints that have an enzyme inside them that's designed to specifically fight odors. They call it an enzyme-eating element or an enzyme-eating chemical inside this enamel-based paint. It's a very specific paint meant to deal with pet odors. Now, the reason why I say you got to know what you're going to do with this floor, because you don't just go in and paint this paint on, because if you're going to tile this floor, This is exactly not the right thing to put on a concrete slab before you put down tile, because it's not going to stick very well. So if you're going to tile it, let's just figure that the glue that you're going to put down before you put the tile and the grout that you're going to put, which you might intend to seal afterwards, will do the trick of locking in the smells. So if you're going to put down tile, don't use the enamel based enzyme paint. If you're going to just put back carpet and pad over that concrete, then absolutely, if you're still having trouble with these odors, go ahead and use that enamel paint with the enzymes in it, because just putting a pad and carpet over it is going to be no sweat. And that's the one caveat I want to make sure that you're aware of. You don't just automatically go in and use that enamel-based paint. You have to think, which rooms am I going to put tile in? Am I going to put tile in any of these rooms? Those rooms don't get that enamel-based paint. I hope that's been informative. I hope that helps you. You know, fighting pet odors can be a challenge, but I think that'll pretty much give you the direction to go. And I would like to give y'all a copy of my moat theory. It was a theory I developed when I was trying to figure out how I could fail without going completely under and drowning in the process of failing forward. You know, sometimes these big thinkers, they put it all on the line, and we'll never know the ones that never made it back because they sank so deep that they just didn't have the energy or the time to come back. I didn't want to be one of those people that always put it on the line. I was trying to figure out, how do I put myself in uncomfortable positions, maybe fail, but that I can retreat to a place of safety, recoup quickly, revive myself quickly, and come back. I talk about how I rationalize failing forward in the moat theory. It's a couple of chapters in my book called My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom. Check it out. All you have to do is go to this link right here, or go to 1000houses.com/free-stuff and click on the link that reads Moat Theory. This is Mitch Stephen, and I'm out of here. Off to the next episode. Why don't you come with me?